Hi everybody, this is Lara at pureelliottwave.com with a free analysis for you today. I'm working through my list. Today I'm going to look at Teladoc Health Inc. For those of you who saw the presentation yesterday, I hope you found that interesting and informative. I am hoping to get a link to that and embed that on my website so that you'll be able to view that after the fact. This is an equity, so I'm only going to do classic technical analysis. I'm not going to do Elliott wave on an individual equity because in my experience over the years, it's my judgment, and I could be wrong, but it's my judgment that they just don't have sufficient volume for really good looking Elliott wave structures. You can still do Elliott wave analysis on them, but I feel like it's more miss than hit. So I'd rather just use solid technical analysis for this. So let's have a go. I'm going to do monthly, weekly and daily charts. This is the entire high price history of Teladoc Health, or TDOC, from its inception back here. It made a low here and it went on a huge bullish run, and now a bear market. What goes up must come down eventually. At this low, I see this piercing pattern. I haven't noted that, and here I see a dark cloud cover with a bearish upper wick and these bearish divergence between price and both RSI and money flow index. I haven't noted that. That's okay. At this low, I don't see a bullish candlestick pattern on the monthly chart, but we do have 3 bullish lower wicks in a row. This has got a bit of a bearish upper wick, so it's unsurprising that in the current month of August 2022 we're getting some downward movement. Can't make a judgment on volume for this month because it's only halfway through. The previous month, however, was an upward month, a high low, a green candlestick and some push from volume, so a little bit of bullishness at the monthly chart level. At these lows here, there's a little bit of bullish divergence between price and money flow index, but not between price and RSI. Money flow index reached reasonably oversold. It's back in neutral territory. RSI got close to oversold, but it didn't get there. For this huge upward trend, ADX reached very extreme above 45 and above both DX lines. That upward trend was very extreme, so it's unsurprising after a very extreme upward trend and strongly overbought RSI and bearish divergence that there was a downward reaction. The question we want to answer in these charts is that downward bear market, is that reaction over? From the candlesticks and this bullish divergence after money flow index reached oversold, I would suspect it could be over. It could also have one more low and exhibit double bullish divergence with money flow index before that final low is in place. So this is a balance of probability. Nothing in this analysis or any analysis of anyone ever is going to be certain. I think on balance of probability it's maybe more likely, about 60% likely, that there's a low in place, about 40% possible that there's going to be one more low. At the moment I'd look for support just above 30, below that really strong support just below 10. On balance volume, no signal. ADX currently declining, no clear trend. The negative DX line is above the positive, but there is no downward trend indicated at this time frame. ADX is a lagging indicator, most indicators are. It's based here on a 14-month average, so if there has been a change, well there really obviously has, it's going to take a while to catch up. We've been over RSI and ADX, and ATR declines throughout the bear market at all time frames, so there's weakness in this downward movement, although this last candlestick is a lot longer. Let's have a look at the weekly chart level. I think we're going to zoom in on this bear market, maybe not the high, but we're going to be looking toward the end of it. Here's the bear market. At the weekly chart level, we also see bullish divergence between price and RSI and price and money flow index, both of which at the weekly chart level reached oversold, and the downward trend reached very extreme above 45 and above both DX lines. Given those circumstances, we also have a bullish candlestick pattern at this low and a selling climax. So at the weekly chart level, it's also supporting the view that this low may be sustained. However, at the weekly chart level, there's a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern on this candlestick here, which has pushed from volume, so that gives some cause for concern to the bullish case. Look out for support at 30 it is still possible there could be one more low. On balance volume has a range, no new signal. Use this one, these, particularly the resistance line, there's a little bit of technical significance there. If it breaks above resistance, that would be a bullish signal. A break below support would be a bearish signal. No divergence between price and on balance volume. We've been over ADX, RSI, money flow, stochastics neutral, and again ATR declines throughout that bear market. Let's look at the daily chart level now. We're going to focus on this movement here. Is there evidence at the daily chart level of a possible low in place, and what does this upward movement look like? Does it look like a new start of a bullish market, or does it look like a counter trend movement within an ongoing bear market? Here's the low. I couldn't see, there's no gap on the weekly chart, but there's this huge gap here. It's still open, so I would label that a measuring gap. I wouldn't label that an exhaustion gap. If it's closed, that would be very bullish. Then I would label it an exhaustion gap. So gaps can be really, really handy in analysis and trading. This one's just a pattern gap. They're usually closed. Measuring gaps aren't usually closed. Exhaustion gaps are, and they're an indication of a trend change. At this low, and I am actually looking at closing prices, but I'm drawing my lines across the lows because it's more visually intuitive. But in order to identify if there is divergence, I do look at the closing prices. At those lows, there is bullish divergence between price and RSI and bullish divergence between price and money flow index, and the downward trend at the daily chart level reached extreme. Given those conditions, we have a bullish candlestick pattern here. It has a little bit of support from volume, so again, some indication that there could be a low in place. Now, I don't know how this one moves off its lows. Some markets can be a little bit weak off their lows, cryptocurrencies especially, and Bitcoin can certainly do that. And some other markets tend to be quite strong off their lows, forming V bottoms. The indices tend to do that. I'm not sure about this one. There's just not enough price history really to have a good idea. This does look bullish, and given the circumstances of that extreme downward trend with a selling climax, I would give weight to this bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. Here's a morning star candlestick pattern, almost a doji, but this isn't really a line, is it? It's a really small real body. So here's another bullish candlestick pattern. We've got a dark cloud cover up here, an upward swing to resistance. Now let's expect a downward swing. ADX is at a low level. The DX lines are whipsawing. This market is currently not trending at this time frame. So we use stochastics and support and resistance. Here is an upward swing. Stochastics moves from oversold to overbought. Now let's expect from there a downward swing to support about 28 to end if and when stochastics reaches oversold. So at this time frame, I would expect choppy, overlapping movement to continue somewhat lower. Let's see how it behaves when it gets down to support. On balance volume is just breaking below support, so that's a weak bearish signal that supports the view that an upward swing may be over, a downward swing is underway. When over ADX, RSI and money flow index back in neutral territory, and ATR flat as price is moving sideways and slightly higher. So for the short term, a downward swing. When price gets down to support about 28 or 30, let's have a watch and see how it behaves. We could be seeing one more low before the low is sustained. If we do see a new low below this previous low, I wouldn't expect downward movement to continue too much further for too much longer. If this low is not sustained and we see one more, I would expect that is very likely to be sustained. So that's my conclusion for Teladoc Health Inc. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you so much for everyone who came and watched the presentation yesterday. If you have any feedback for me on things I can improve on for next time, I'd love to hear it. Thank you.